I'd like to introduce Lynn from Australia, who takes LDN for Autoimmune Renal Neuropathy, Graves' disease and Thyroiditis. Thank you for joining me, Lynn.
Thank you.
Could you tell us when you first started to be unwell? How old were you?
Oh, sorry, I just missed that question.
Okay. How old were you when you first started to feel unwell?
Well, it's about 6 years ago, so I guess around about 50, 51.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started with the Graves' disease, the first round of Graves' disease.
What did you notice?
So it was typical Graves, lost a lot of weight, generally unwell, heart thumping, all those sorts of things that are related to the thyroid. And then, the thyroid hormones were all out of whack and needed to go on some neomercazole for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that came under control fairly quickly, actually, on that. And I was all right for about probably a bit longer, about 6 years, really. And then a couple of years ago, I had a sore throat which went to a nephritis and started having some renal symptoms. And then that seemed to bring out the Graves' disease again, so it became like one feeding off the other.
Mm-hmm.
And the Graves' disease came under control again, but it was the nephropathy that was out of control. And I had lots of tests, nothing was working, nothing was showing up. Didn't know what to do with it, so after a lot of investigation by myself, I found the LDN and wanted to give that a try.
Mm-hmm.
So I started that a few months ago.
Hang on just one moment. Let's just get the full picture of what your life was like before you started LDN. What would a typical day be like for you?
Well, with the nephropathy, it was doing a cycle. So I was having like 2 weeks really not well, and then I would sort of recover. So with that, it was that general fatigue. I had a lot of hematuria. I was losing weight still, had no appetite. And generally you get into that cycle where I was cancelling social things. I'd come back from an overseas holiday because I was so unwell. And life looked bleak, actually, because I felt like I couldn't plan anything. I'd had so many tests and nothing was showing up. And, it just looked very bleak, no answers. And I felt like I was falling into a dark hole that I couldn't get out of.
Yeah. So if you had to have, at that point, scored your quality of life on a score of 1 to 10, and 10 being the best, what would it have been? I'd say at least when I looked at something, I can say 30 to 50% of my life. I better rephrase that. 80% of the time, I probably felt unwell. Right.
Yeah. So if you say that's only about 2 out of 10, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So as I say, because I was doing this 2-week cycle, I had 2 weeks where I usually wasn't too bad, but then I'd fall into this cycle where I really wasn't well. And I think it was that whole thing where I couldn't plan anything because I thought, what's the point? I don't know if I'm going to be well on that day. Feeling sick all the time. Yeah. And this constant hematuria, which is, I had a lot of bleeding from my bladder. Well, it was actually coming from my kidneys, but yeah.
How did you hear about LDN, Lynn?
Yeah, I can't exactly remember, but I think because you have a lot of time lying around and get on the internet, I think I just started Googling things and it came up. And then I started doing a lot of reading. And there wasn't really a lot about kidneys and LDN, but there was all about autoimmune disease. So I just thought, there's nothing else. Why can't I give it a try?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it easy to find a doctor who would prescribe LDN for you?
No. Well, by this time I was seeing 2 or 3 specialists, and the renal physician just absolutely would not even talk about it. Like, I took in my papers, I did all my research, and he just said, I think he used the word hocus pocus, and that's, you can't have that for what you've got. So he was out of the question. And then the endocrinologist for the Graves' disease, he had at least heard about it, But he wouldn't consider it either. He said, no, that's not for, you can't order that for Graves' disease. And it's like, it wasn't for the Graves, it was for the autoimmune. But anyway, I thought, I'm determined, I'm not giving up. So I found an integrative medical doctor that considered it. So that was the only way to go.
Oh, fantastic.
And my local GP, she just looked at me like I had two heads. So, yeah, you just have to take it into control yourself.
Mm.
Yes. So I found an integrative medical doctor who actually, when I went to see her, she hadn't ordered it, but I was so determined that day, I thought, I'm not leaving here without this prescription. And I had heard somebody else in the same practice had ordered it, so I said, someone else is using it, and I'm only here because I know she uses it and I can't get in to see her. And then she said, okay, let's give it a go. So that was good. I don't think I was so happy as the day I walked out with that prescription.
Oh. And when you first started, did you notice any introductory side effects?
The usual sleep thing. So I wasn't sleeping, so I've actually moved it on to daytime. Mm-hmm. And just a few hot flushes at night, but nothing else. Everything else has been good, from day one actually.
Really?
Yes.
That's good. So what has your experience been of LDN?
So I started off on the 1 milligram because I thought I'll start slowly, I've got nothing to lose. And I have to say from the first day I just felt my energy come back and just that hopefulness too. And then as far as the symptoms go, they've dropped probably 80%. So instead of, I might still have some relapses every couple of weeks, but they're shortened. They're only instead of lasting up to 10 days, it lasts maybe 2 days, and the actual symptoms have dropped probably 80%. So it's like a transient thing now that I can deal with. Oh. So I've just booked an overseas holiday again to make up for last year, and I'm ready to go. Oh. So it's that quality of life that's just come back. Mm-hmm. And everybody's telling me how well I look. I'm eating well. I put on a few kilos. I have to watch that. Yeah, and I know it's because I'm eating properly now.
Yes.
So it's a whole quality of life. I'm coping at work now. Everything's looking rosy.
So what would you say your quality of life now is on that score of 1 to 10?
Oh, I'd say it's at least 90%.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And to feel good is a bonus, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
When you were having to take all the medication before LDN, how many medications were you taking?
Well, I was only taking the neomercazole for the thyroid, which I can't say that the LDN's done anything for that because that was already in remission. So that's all I was taking, and I'm finished that course. So as far as pain and that went, I wasn't taking anything for that. So I wasn't on a lot of medication anyway.
Right.
And the other thing is I haven't noticed it's helped anything with the eye, but from what I've read, it may not, and that may just fix itself anyway. And that's not a lifestyle thing either. I can live with that. Mm-hmm. It's the kidney thing that I was having trouble living with.
So would you recommend LDN to other people?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, especially as far as lifestyle goes, just general health, symptoms. So, as I say, not hearing a lot of people with a renal thing is quite interesting. So, yes, I don't know whether it would suit everybody and whether it's just because it's an autoimmune thing that it's fixed or whether it would help other renal things. I don't know. But it's certainly worth a try.
What does your doctor say to the results that you've experienced?
Well, I've only been back to see, I'm nearly due to go back, but obviously she was pleased, and I know someone else has been in to see her and she's ordered the LDN for them, so I think she's probably astonished too that it's worked so well. So I haven't been back to any of the specialists because I can't see the point. And I don't have a need to go back at the moment. That's the other thing. Because they were going to start doing some more tests, but I've improved so much, I'm not going to go back and go through that.
That's amazing. Thank you very much for sharing your very exciting, inspirational story with us, Lynn.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank you, all you guys, because it's places, going to websites like the Research Trust that gives you the confidence to go on and say, no, I'm going to do this. So it's really great having all that support.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.